All right, Jerell. So you talk about your different interests in photography and your goals in photography. I'd also like you to talk about what this series is about. Why are you photographing these images? You talk about what you want to be doing, and that this is like what you have in front of you to photograph, this park. But I'm curious about what these images are actually about, and that's something I'd like you to explore. All right, so as we look here, I'm going to go ahead and click through these images and just look at the ISO, and you're at 200. And then you pump it up to 500 for these last images. All right, so it looks like they were captured on a couple of different days, so that's good to see that you're spending more than one day photographing. You are at f5.6 for all of the images. So that's something that's problematic here. We want to make sure that you're adjusting your shutter speed and ISO and aperture for each image. So here, keeping your aperture at 5.6 doesn't quite make sense. An image like this, you would probably want as much in focus as possible. So you'd want to shoot this at like f16 or f22. Whereas an image like this, you probably want the background to start to go out of focus so it's not distracting us from the car. So here you would want to shoot with a wider aperture, maybe 3.5. So this is where you want to be making those adjustments with your aperture instead of just shooting with the same aperture for all of your images. Then it looks like you're making slight adjustments with your shutter speed, but overall you're keeping it about the same for all of these images. Now, something I noticed is that most of these images are pretty overexposed. You can see you don't have any shadow detail if we look at the histogram here. So here's all of your information, and there's nothing on the left side of the histogram. And if we look at this image, we can see there's no dark areas here. So this is overexposed, but like I said, it almost seems like there's something going on with your camera that's not allowing us to get those richer tones. Again, here, if we compare this to an image that I edited, let's see. You can see how like the darkness, the richness of the image is here when I edit it, and your image is really washed out. So we don't want to see that. We want an image that has the dark tones. You want to hold on to that. So this image is much darker, your image is much lighter. Here again, this is overexposed. You can see that there's no dark areas, but we do have dark areas. The trees in the background, the tree here, the scoreboard, that should all show up on the far left side of the histogram. Yeah, so it's the same for all of these. Even this black car, we're not getting any true shadow detail. So that would be like in here, that should be all the way to the left. So that's something I really want you to consider as you move forward is your exposure, that these are all overexposed. And I still question if there's something going on with your camera that's kind of creating a film on these. We can see that you also have digital noise when you're shooting at an ISO of 800. So if we look closer, you can see how this, you want the car to look slick, right? You don't want it to have this texture on it. You want this all to look smooth, but because you're shooting with a higher ISO, we have digital noise. So the light that you're shooting with, it looks like these were all shot about midday, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So pushing to the limits of maybe 7 o'clock as the sun's going down or 7:30 as the sun's coming up. Would work well to get more of a warmth to your images and have longer shadows in your images. I think that could help out. Your series looks like it's kind of two sets of images, the images of the car and the images of the park. So creating a cohesive series where it's all around one subject is important. And that's where writing out an artist statement that really explains what your intent is would clarify this. So overall, I think your focus looks pretty good throughout these, but we need to make sure that you're getting your exposure correct as you move forward. And then I think I have your contact sheet open. Yeah, so Here we see your contact sheet, but there's not anything different in here. These are pretty much all of the images we've seen. So there's not really much to comment on that. All right, thanks for your submission. Let me know if you have any questions.